our guest of honor, Mr D Shivkumar. So friends, with a big round of applause, we welcome Mr. D Shivkumar.
Thank you for inviting me here to the Ahmedabad Management Association to talk about a topic which all of us want to understand, want to contribute to, and want to make it a competitive advantage, which is people at work. That's the essence of my discussion with you today. But before I start, I must place on record that Ahmedabad Management Association is one of the best management associations that we have in the country. We have 64 management associations, or what we call the local management associations. So the All India Management Association, which is the apex body in Delhi, has 64 people who really run the business out for management. And Ahmedabad Management Association is absolutely the pioneer and has been doing some outstanding work over the last 50 years. Really very good. I had the privilege of being here a few years ago, exactly at this spot, to talk on innovation and what innovation means to people. Of course, as I speak about HR, etc., I'm deeply conscious of the fact that there are people like Professor T.V. Rao, who I have a great regard for, who's on the board of IIM Ahmedabad, where we had a meeting this morning, Mr. Iyer, and all the other luminaries of the Ahmedabad Management Association. I'm really humbled that I'm standing here speaking to such wonderful people and such wonderful leaders of the industry. So my topic, Dil at Work, what am I going to cover? The first thing I'm going to cover for you is, what are the rules of winning companies? What are the 3 rules of winning companies? And I will quote for you where that comes from. Second, I want to talk about, why do people come to work every morning? They come to work at 9 o'clock or 9:30 or 10 o'clock. Why do they come to work? They can sit at home, they can go somewhere else. Why do they come to work? As leaders, we have to answer that question. Why do people come to work for us? Third, how do companies win? Is the next point I will cover. Then, how do you build Dil at Work, which is diversity, inclusion, and loyalty? How do we build that? And next, what leaders need to do and show for a future world in order to have outstanding employees and productivity? And finally, a summary. Does this make sense? Wonderful. You don't need to write down anything. This presentation is with the Ahmedabad Management Association. Please ask them to send you a copy, or it will be put on their website. I have no doubt they're extremely efficient. So just download it from there. So don't waste your time writing something down. Just engage in the dialogue with me. 3 rules of winning companies. Harvard Business Review recently ran an article about 6-8 months ago from 2 authors who studied about 25,000 companies over the last 50 years and said, what are the principles of winning companies? Why do companies win over 50 years? They put 3 rules. That's where I start. Rule number 1, be better before you're cheaper. Some of this fascination with price and cheap is a very Indian fascination. Specifically, it's a media fascination. But if you actually look at price warriors in this market, every single price warrior in this market has died. The only category where the price leader is the market leader is in cars, where Maruti is the leader. In every other category, the price leader is not the market leader. Even in the most remotest rural market, the market leader in toothpaste is Colgate. The market leader in DVDs is Philips. The market leader in transistor is Philips. In every category, the price leader is not the market leader. But somehow we have this fascination that if we cut price, we'll be leaders. It never happens. You should only compete on price if you're the lowest cost producer of that good or service. If you're not the lowest cost producer of that good or service, you should not compete on price. So rule number 1, try to be better before you're cheaper. This has significant implications for the type of people you have, the kind of processes you run, and the kind of talent you need. I'll come back to that. Try to be better before you're cheaper. Remember this, rule number 1. Rule number 2, put revenue line ahead of the cost line every single time. What does that mean? It means that think about growth and grow your business as opposed to cutting costs all the time. Cutting costs is much more definitive. Chartered accountants will tell you, 100% I can achieve this cost. Most people cannot tell you that they will achieve growth. And that's the reason many companies have got into this fascination of, let me cut costs and be sure. But what is the end to cutting cost? You're here, you cut costs, you cut costs, you cut costs, you cut costs. Before long, you won't have a business. Nobody will join you. So always put growth ahead of cost. Okay, growth has a very different dimension. When you grow, the organization is young. When you grow, there is fun in the company. When you grow, you attract people into your company. Nobody wants to join a company which says, I will decline my turnover by 10% next year. You think anybody wants to join? Any of the young people here, you want to join a company which declines? Never. Growth is something which is accelerating, and all of us want to grow. In the growth of the company is the growth of the individual. In the growth of the company is the growth of the teams that work for the company. Okay, so rule number 1, be better before you're cheaper. Rule number 2, put revenue ahead of cost. The most important rule of all now, rule number 3. If you follow rule number 1 and 2, you don't need any other rule. Okay? These are the 3 rules after studying close to 25,000 companies. Okay? So just keep that in mind. So, question, why do people come to work? Okay? Lots and lots has been written about it. Lots and lots will be written about it. So let me ask you, why do you think people come to work? Any idea? Give me words. Any idea why people come to work? Salary. Actualization. Money, salary, okay. Satisfaction. To pass time. Excellent. That must be a government sector answer. What else? Wife is pushing you out of the house. Don't stay at home, out. Any other creative answers? Why do people come to work? Improve skills. Knowledge. To find excitement. You can't keep quiet. Yes, lady. Okay, to apply whatever has been taught. To pursue your career. Yes, sir. Passion to achieve something. Person doesn't have this. Okay, let me tell you. The top 3 reasons why people come to work in any company in the world. Number 1, the meaning and the purpose of what that company does. If that company has a purpose which says, we serve this market, we serve this country for this reason, people come to work. They get excited by it. Okay, so every company has a purpose. If that purpose means something to the employee, he will come in every day. He will take that purpose of the company as his own purpose. So the first thing for all of you who are running companies, check what your purpose is and see how many of your employees are excited by that purpose. Okay, so that's the first thing why people come to work. The second reason why people come to work is good colleagues in the workplace. Good surrounding, good people to work with, nice teams, good human beings. I want to be with them. That's the second reason they come to work. And the third and most important reason they come to work is feeling of progress. I've come at 9:30, I've made a note, somebody has approved it, I can take it forward. They want progress every day, even if it is in small steps. This is the reason people come to work. They do not come to work for politics. They do not come to work for cynical bosses. They do not come to work for salary, believe it or not. They want a hygienic salary. They don't want the top salary. Because the top salary drives a very individualistic behavior. They don't want that. They want good colleagues. Investment banks, chefs, advertising agencies, creative people. That's an individual society, an individual company. They don't like that. People want a reasonable salary which they say, I am worth this salary. Pay me my dues. But more important, they want the purpose, they want progress, and they want good colleagues. These are the 3 reasons why people come to work, day in and day out. You can check this informally, formally, do any amount of research. This is what will come out. Okay? So, how do companies win? We talked about the 3 rules of winning companies. We talked of 3 reasons why employees come to work. So, how do companies win? The first way of winning is innovation. In any industry, in any society, in any individual, in any team, the most basic reason to progress is innovation. If you are not innovating, you will die. If you don't grow, you will die. If you don't innovate, you won't grow. The two are correlated. So innovation is the reason how companies win in the marketplace. Okay, if you want to grow, you have to innovate. And you have to out-innovate your competition. Second way companies win is out-execute competition. They out-innovate competition, they out-execute competition. Okay, so somebody goes to the market, somebody is available in 100 outlets, somebody will go and be available in 110 outlets. Somebody resolves a customer complaint in 20 hours, the other competitor does that in 18 hours. That's how you build advantage. Companies in the future world will build advantage on two dimensions. One is innovation, one is execution. That is how companies win. This is how companies will win in the knowledge decade. Innovation. How does innovation happen? And which is where Dil comes in. The first is, you can only get innovation if you have diversity of people and thought. If everybody thinks the same way, you cannot get innovation. If everybody is waiting for the boss to say something and align exactly what the boss says, you don't need everybody else. You just need the boss. Correct? You just don't need all the others. What are they doing in that room? Okay? Diversity loosely, unfortunately, most of us in companies have defined it as number of men to women. The gender ratio is what most people talk about. It's a very basic ratio. It is not the ratio which makes you win. The real ratio which makes you win is diversity of backgrounds, diversity of education, diversity of culture. That is what makes you win. Why? Innovation truly happens when you put a team which is cross-cultural, education, etc., and the interaction of each of these functions, that cross-functional interaction is what sparks new ideas. When a production guy sits with a sales guy and says, why can't we do this? When a technical guy sits with a commercial guy and says, why can't we do this? That's when innovation happens. You put 5 sales guys together, you don't get innovation. You put 5 marketing guys together, you don't get innovation. Sameness in thinking is the surest way to kill innovation. And if you don't want sameness in thinking, you have to have diversity. Okay, so diversity is just not men to women ratio. It is about every single difference you can bring to the table. The best companies and the best innovation teams have diversity in their teams. Keep that in mind. Okay? 1. Second is inclusiveness. If you really want people to own your company and want to do something new, they need to feel part of it. Okay, today, most CEOs in the country, 95% of CEOs in the country don't know more than 50 employees in their company, believe it or not. And out of those 50 employees, 20 or 15 will be their direct reports. They don't know more than 50 people. So if I as an employee don't feel included by my leadership team, what is my commitment to doing something different? Okay, so the second part of driving innovation is include as many people as possible. Not just your own team, include the ecosystem partners, include your distributor, include your supplier, include educational institutions, include technical institutions, include scientific institutions. That's what will make you win in innovation. The wider you open your window to learning, the better it will be. And the third is loyalty. Loyalty is a funny word. Whenever we talk of loyalty, the first question most companies ask is the individual loyal? Okay. Then the second question we ask is the individual loyal to the company or to the individual, which is the boss? Whom is he loyal to? Okay, I have a different take on it. I would seriously ask everybody who works in a company, the leaders in a company, to answer a very different question. Is the company loyal to its employees? That's a very important question for leaders to answer. Are we loyal to our employees? If we are loyal to our employees, we have every right to demand loyalty. Loyalty is not a one-way street. We think of it as a one-way street. Loyalty is a two-way street. We have to show loyalty to the employees before we demand loyalty from the employee. So for leadership, one of the first things I would suggest is, please show loyalty to your employees. Okay? Next, I talked about execution. How do companies win? This is what I call the 50,000 to 5 feet. Anybody can think at 50,000 feet. We should do this. If you look at all the media interviews, why not this? It's a 20 question. They keep asking you questions. There are no answers. That's what I call 50,000 feet thinking. You can keep asking questions and stay at 50,000 feet. Great execution happens when you think at 50,000 feet and you're able to translate that to somebody at 5 feet who operates for you. Your company can have a huge 50,000 feet thought, but ask yourself, at 5 feet, where the machine worker is working in the plant, does he understand it? The salesman who is out in the marketplace, does he understand it simply? Okay, if that 50,000 feet concept cannot be translated at a 5 feet level, you will lose. You will be seen as absent-minded professors in the company. Yeah, he talks big, nice, etc., cannot translate it to action. Okay, so that's something. Execution requires a 50,000 feet drilled down to 5 feet. Second, execution requires that you focus on output measures, not input measures. Output measures. For example, most people will say, conduct 5 training courses for the sales team. That's an input measure. The true output measure, if you want outstanding execution, is to say, conduct 5 training courses, improve productivity from current 38% to 43%. That is an output measure. That is how you out-execute competition. Conducting 5 training courses is an input variable. Life doesn't change. So if you really want good execution as a company, focus much more on the output measures and tell people not to focus on the input measures. Okay? So that's the second part of great execution. And the third part of great execution, which is hard but important. Return on investment for every rupee you spend. Please measure it. Return on investment, first, very important. This is a very rational way of looking at it, and we have to look at one part of execution rationally, no doubt about it. So please measure return on investment and have, is it good, bad, ugly, cut off everything which does not return. Okay? But the second part, which is extremely emotional, and you have to control this in an organization if you want outstanding execution, is return on effort. Execution is about effort. You have to lift things, you have to move things, you have to drive things. If the employee does not feel that the effort is yielding result, he will go into a negative spiral. We are all good at doing ROI. We are not good at empathizing with ROE. Okay, that's very important. Return on effort. There are people out there, as I stand and talk before you right now, there are 10,000 people out in PepsiCo driving, sales into every outlet. It is my job to understand that empathy, to say, look at the effort they are putting. What does that mean to me? Every leader must actually have that concept of, my employees are doing so much in terms of effort. Am I really understanding that? Okay, so return on investment, logical, rational exercise all of us do. Return on effort, not something that we really think about. So what do leaders need to do? We talked of companies, we talked of employees, we talked of how companies can win both the innovation game with DIL and the execution game with 50,000 to 5 feet and the return on effort. What do leaders need to do? First, leaders need to give before they ask. In tomorrow's world, leaders need to give before they ask. What do leaders need to give? The first thing that leaders can give is their time. I cannot tell you the most important thing, young people in the organization, direct recruits in the organization, the thing they most look for is a leader's time. All of us have only 24 hours. But if you can give your time liberally to people, face-to-face, email, on the phone, in any which way, you'll build significantly higher engagement. So if there is one commodity you can liberally give as leaders, it is your time. You have to work on that. Okay? Why is that so today? Young people, when they join a company, they see someone like me with more than 20 years experience. They might work for me for 1 or 2 years. But they want to compress my 20 years or 25 years in the 2 years that they work for me. They want to learn all that I've learned in 25 years, they want to learn it in 2 years. They are in a hurry. The young people are what I call the Concord generation. You know what the Concord generation is? It takes off from London at 10 o'clock and arrives in New York at 9 o'clock. That's the Concord generation. Okay, so leaders have to be very clear that they're able to compress their knowledge and give it to this Concord generation. Second, naive listening. A lot of leaders, before you've completed your sentence, their attention is nanoseconds. They're giving you the answer even before you complete your point. What really employees want in today's world is naive listening. Just listen to me. That's all. You might not have an answer, but hey, Mr. Leader, please listen to me. That's all I want of you. So one is time, second is listen carefully, naive listening. The third is empathy. Everybody has a problem with something or the other. It can be a personal problem, it can be a family problem, it can be a colleague problem, it can be a society problem. All they are seeking is empathy. Do you understand what I go through? That's all. Okay. And finally is positive energy. Nobody comes to work in a company for a cynical leader. And a lot of leaders are cynical in this world. When you have a cynical leader, he has a bunch of people around him listening to him for the first time. Because he's saying, this company is no good, useless, this managing director is no good, useless, etc. First time it is fun, because this guy says it. The second time, the young people who want to get ahead in life, they're asking themselves, why does this guy stay in this company if he's so unhappy? If he's so cynical, why is he here? The third time he says it, the young people are thinking, this guy will not get another job, that's why he's here. Think about it. Nobody comes to work for a cynical boss. Everybody wants to work for a positive boss. Okay, and one of the things we need to do as leaders is to spread positive energy. That's why people will come to work for us. Otherwise, they will not. So, in summary, at the end of 18 minutes, first, be better before you're cheaper. Very important. That means you need to think innovation, you need to think differentiation. How can I be better? Your whole team has to be thinking, what can I do to better this product? Either in product terms, or in service terms, or in channel terms, whichever way it is. How can I be better? Second, always put growth ahead of cost cutting. Revenue ahead of cost. Very important. Next, provide meaning to people. Meaning in the purpose of the company. What does that mean? They come to work because of meaning. They come to work because they have good colleagues. And they come to work because they believe that they have made some progress. Next, the only way a company can win in tomorrow's marketplace is innovating and out-executing competition. You have to out-innovate competition, you have to out-execute competition. Okay. Innovation means having the diversity in your team, having the inclusiveness in your team, and building loyalty to what you're doing. Okay. Execution, 50,000 feet to 5 feet. How do you do that? Return on investment, return on effort. How do you really measure that? Return on effort specifically. Okay, the whole concept of DIL, very important in tomorrow's world. Okay, we cannot mandate anybody to do anything. No way. Okay, and I'll give you a simple story. A few years ago when I was in Nokia, the chap called Pranab, he got a job in Singapore. So his boss DK came and told me, Shiv, this guy is a good guy. Why don't you have a word with him and get him to stay in Nokia India rather than going to Nokia Singapore? I said, sure, I'll do that, DK. So I took Pranab down for a coffee, okay, so in the coffee shop in Gurgaon. So we chatted, so I told him why it is better for him to stay here. He said, yeah, Shiv, I agree, I think you're right, I will stay here. After about 15 minutes, I asked him a question. I said, Pranab, and I thought this was a CEO question and I should ask it, naive that I was. I asked him, Pranab, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Okay, good question to ask, right? That's what we are all taught to do that. This guy looked at me seriously in my face and said, I don't know where, Shiv, but definitely not Nokia. Think about it. If I had been asked that question when I was a young manager in Hindustan Lever, and if my chairman, Dr. Ganguly, had asked me, I would have said, where, sir? Here, always. That's the fundamental difference. That's the fundamental difference of today's generation. They have so many options ahead of them that if you don't win their hearts, there is no way they'll work for you. That's the most you can do to keep them with you. Okay? As Jonathan Livingston Seagull said, if they fly away, let them go. If they are yours, they'll come back. If they don't come back, they were never yours. Okay? That's the thing with young generation today. You cannot take them for granted. The only way to win with them is winning their heart. 50,000, great thoughts, bring it down to 5 feet in execution terms. Okay? Think output measures, not input measures. Return on investment, logical, rational. Think of return on effort. That's far more empathetic. And that's what will build the warmth and the heart in the company. As leaders, please give your time to your people. I cannot stress this. I cannot stress it enough. Okay, most leaders don't know, the people who work for them, except about 50. Listening, naive listening, very critical. Build empathy and positive energy. Before I close, I want to reflect on what I see in the newspapers. Okay, and I'll close with that. In the newspapers, we hear all leaders talk of 4 things, which I call their 4 lies, for whatever it is. The first lie is, we are a growth company. Everybody says that. Everybody in the industry says that. In the same industry says that. Second, we are a consumer-oriented company. Okay, everybody says that. I was called by the Market Research Society of India last year to do a keynote like this. There were 300 researchers, and I asked them, when was the last time a CEO attended a presentation of yours on consumers? 2 hands went up. 2 hands in 300. But every CEO and every leader says he's consumer connected. Think about it. Third thing every company is saying in the newspapers, we are an innovative company. Talking about innovation doesn't make you innovative. Talking about anything doesn't make you anything. Okay? And the fourth and the biggest lie of all, which once I say it, you read in the newspapers. We are going to double our turnover in 4 years. These are the 4 things everybody says. Now you have to decide what is right and what is wrong, ladies and gentlemen. And I am telling you, all 4 of them, the only way you can do that, all 4 together, is if you have diversity, inclusion, and loyalty at work. Otherwise, all those 4 statements are plain, empty statements which are there in the newspaper, which have no meaning to your employees. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I really enjoyed doing this for you.